whatever you want now.
This is Luke Tomlinson, and this is the Break It Down Show.
Hell yeah. I love this thing, man. One of the best things about doing a show, running a podcast, maybe we want to call it that we do around here, is I get to meet cool cats like you. And I get to, it's one thing to hear someone's idea. You probably get this, man, when you're out and about and someone's like, oh, I got this great idea for a podcast. And it's like, yeah, that's great. Go do it. I don't want to hear you talk about it because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You edited our episode, and I'm like, man, there's hours of work right there, and I can appreciate what that is. And so the fact that you've taken this really slick idea and turned it into something really interesting is a credit to you and everybody. I was on Luke's show. It's called ImProPod. And what it is Luke sort of does this interview, and he asks you questions, and then he improvises on the ivories. He tickles the ivories. And then you talk about the improvisation, and it's a real neat vibe. I hope you guys go check it out. I'll put a link in for the episode that we did together, put a link in for his show, but that's my way of introing. I don't do a lot of intros, but you're such a unique and interesting person, Luke. I thought it necessary to kind of dig in so folks can find you. And I'll put all that stuff up while Luke's talking right now. Hey, man, thanks for coming on the show and welcome.
Thanks. Well, thanks so much. So we live right now?
Yeah, we're live right now. We're doing it. We're rocking the house. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was live. Right.
Oh yeah. Surprise. Surprise. It's live. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to put up the link, everybody. And basically what you have to do is just type in ImProPod, and you guys don't even know how to spell that because I didn't give me the links. I'm just going to do this by hand here. So it's ImProPod, everybody. ImProPod.com. That'll get you closer to where you need to be. Bam. There's the link right there. When you are working on becoming a musician, and obviously you like improvisation, that doesn't strike everybody's fancy. Some people want to just stick to the sheet and the notes that are on it. They want to write. They want to master playing these wonderful works. Like I'll go to our symphony hall, and there will be someone from out of town, and they'll sit down. Crack the fingers, and then and with the symphony play this masterful work, and there's not one note in front of them, but it's Bach, it's Mozart, it's Chopin, it's something incredible. But you go in a totally different route. You went on this improvisation route. Is that the heart of your music, improvisation, or do you like some of the classic stuff? Talk to me about like where your heartbeat is for music.
Yeah, so I'd say my heart is improvisation. In fact, a lot of those classical pieces, like Bach's time, there's a lot of improvisation in that, which I think has been lost in kind of the new classical music kind of school. So, yeah, particularly like the bass, they're called Alberti bass, is it? And that's kind of improvised. So all of the sort of, when you play the harpsichord, and there's kind of a lot more freedom, particularly within that kind of Baroque era. And then I think classical music moved on to very unimprovised. Yeah, I mean, I've always done it. So ever since I was about 2 or 3, I could reach the piano, but about this high. Yeah. And I've always messed around on it. I've always been interested in tonality and notes and just and then I was lucky enough to not go down the route of being forced into learning how to read music, going through the grades and things, because I think that would have made me take a different path or give it up altogether, like I know a lot of people have done. So yeah, improvisation has always been an important part of my playing, but also my kind of existence in a way.
Right. Yeah. How do you, okay, so it's great that the path works out, right? But if your 3-year-old is reaching up and is inspired by the keys, you typically want to put some sheet music in front of them and teach them where middle C is and all these things. You still have to overcome that learning barrier. I'm assuming you didn't just, some people do, come out virtuosic and be like, damn, I can play. But how did you get over the hump of the learning where the keys are, how things structure together, what the rules are, so that if you do break them, you're breaking rules and it's all fine. But how did you get that basis then if you didn't go through the traditional steps?
I went through some of the steps. I mean, I learned kind of C major scale, and then I I learned the blues scale, and I started learning stuff by ear. So it's not like I completely skipped all of the basic grammar of it. It's just that I did it in a way that I was driven to do it instead of something that was just pushed. I mean, there's a lot of time you learn the piano and you don't really have a purpose of learning it. You just have all these notes and you've got to do this, and there's all these steps you've got to do to become better at the piano. But for me, that was more of I discovered things. It was a process of discovery rather than a process of you've got to do this.
Right.
Dictation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, like there's some basic stuff that has to happen. And so were you doing dexterity and strength drills as you learned this, and just crabbing your hand up the keyboard like you have to do? And it is so monotonous and so tedious, but so essential to, developing flexibility, strength, endurance, all the things that you have to do to actually be able to play a keyed instrument.
Yeah, sure. And I sort of tried to find a way of making it fun, if you like.
Right.
One of the first pieces I sort of wrote was this piece where it's almost like a study. I didn't really realize it at the same time, but it's just taking the same shape and playing like the C major shape in different places along the piano.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took that idea and turned it into a piece of music. And I've always been doing stuff like that. So something that is challenging me, I will turn it into a piece of music, some sort of composition. Another one, this kind of triplet thing. I can actually demonstrate on the piano. I think we will need some. So I've got a link which will link you and various other people to it.
Oh yeah, send that to me. Is that in the chat? Is that what's over here?
Yeah, that's in the chat.
Okay, all right. So this is okay. So everybody, check this out. This link will allow you to hear what Luke is playing in real time. So I'm going to put this in the comments. I'm going to give you a second or two here to do that. And so let me just give you everybody a minute. If you want to listen, this is a really cool thing to do. So you're going to have a tab pop open on whatever device you're listening on, and you'll be able to join us. And so there's the link. You don't need to type that. Just click on it. Hopefully it is clickable, but I'll give you all a second to do that. Let me ask you a question in the meantime. We'll come back to that. When you're trying to convince your fingers where to go, are you thinking about anything, because there's those folks who, I forget what it's called, but they see a color and they play it. There's different ways of guiding your hand around your instrument. So how much of that is just straight feel? How much of it are you listening to, I don't know, Stone Temple Pilots, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to see what I get out. Where does the inspiration, how does it filter down to your decisions on where your fingers go?
It's an interesting question. I think sometimes I've managed to build a bridge between my subconscious and the way I experience emotion and what I'm doing in terms of the piano. So I feel there's a strong enough bridge there that I don't have to think about each note. And then occasionally something will be like, well, I'll have a thought like, oh, I'll play the sixth here. I'll play the major seven. I'll play something really dissonant. But those are just passing thoughts, which is quite interesting. When I'm in improvisation mode, anyway,
right.
It's a different. Yeah. When I'm reciting a piece or something that's already been done, there's a different story. I'm thinking just a millisecond ahead. So I've got to do this now. I've got to do that now. I've got to do this now. I've got to go to the F section, the F major section. I've got to go to the C major seven. So there's sort of two different processes. When I'm in improv mode, it's all, it's thinking minimally.
So you're trying to almost free your hands to be truly improvisational. So you aren't necessarily guiding, oh, let's play this sixth as a norm. It's a kind of a blend in, you're saying, oh, I always like this sixth and this kind of thing. Are you thinking linearly, where I just played this, and so in the front I'm not going to play that? Again, how much design is in this, even if it's design in the moment?
Design in the moment, not much really. That's the kind of beauty of it. I think about it, but I don't think about it. It's always very present. I think that's what I get out of it, what people appreciate it from it, what people appreciate it for is this real sense of presence, as it's not projecting into the future. I'm not recalling something from the past.
Right.
Does that
Okay.
help? Yeah.
And then, do you have a nice firm gate between that part of your brain that wants to create a structure, and like you're like, hey, shut up, brain, let my hands do the tickling here.
Do I have a first gate?
A
Gate?
gate, yeah, like, because any kind of practice involves you thinking, and you're like, I want to not think, I want to react, I want to proact. And if you start thinking, now you're thinking as opposed to doing. And there's times when these things need to, if you're playing football,
Mhm.
soccer football, a lot of the times you just need the art to happen and not the design.
Mhm. Yeah. I say like that most of the time when I'm improvising, and then if I'm not improvising, then I'm recalling information.
Right. Okay. So I give everybody about a minute and a half there to turn that link on. I'm going to do it all myself too, because if I don't do it, then I won't hear. And what an asshole I would be if I told you all to do this and I didn't do it myself. So let me just get this going on my computer. Okay. Start listening now. Okay. So we're listening now. This is going to be fun. So what do you want to do with us?
So can you hear this to start with?
The audience, I'll say yes. But if you
Okay.
guys can't hear, let me know, and I'll just tell you now. Click on that link, and it'll come up, and it'll ask you a couple of questions that are simple. Don't download anything; just do it. So Brad can hear, so that's good. We got one person at least listening.
Okay, great. So
Yeah,
I thought we'd do on the podcast. The podcast is really about exploring improvised music and how people relate to it, and the emotions and imagery associated with it. And there's this thing I do at the beginning of the podcast, where I play a piece of improvised music and I ask people, what does it make them think of? So that's any kind of thoughts, emotions that come to mind. And so I was going to try doing it here. So I'm going to play you a piece of improvised music, and I'd like you to tell me what it makes you think of. So any kind of thoughts, emotions that come to mind. Don't overthink it too much. All right, here we go.
And you all play. All you guys listening, if you're listening and you're listening to the music, you guys lead the way. I'm going to follow your lead as much as possible. All right, so go ahead and go.
So what did you think of that?
Well, let me see if I got anybody else here talking. All right, so nobody's going to kick in right now. Kick in as you guys can. I heard, so that first chord reminded me and recalled for like some kind of like a theme song type thing. You had the boom, the chord, and then you did a little bit of note picking along with it. And I was like, oh, it's kind of themey, like a TV show. Was the very first thing, like in the very first second or two. But it kept going, but I kind of stayed in that frame of mind of, hey, this is maybe a soundtrack. And I felt like the chord, I think the chord put me in the mind of like there's a divorce and the guy's walking by a lake and there's just these thoughts trickling through his head. He's not melancholic, but he's going through a bunch of emotions as he walks, and maybe he sees a goose or something. So I had a whole like significant departure from being here, and I went to this lakeside and I sat on a bench and I watched this person have this moment. So that's and here's Brad saying felt reminiscent. That's probably because more and Brad is in a moment in his life where his life is sort of similar to what I just described. So that's fun. But yeah, the reminiscence. What do you think? How did we do?
Reminiscence. Yeah, that's interesting. So you've got this C on the left hand, and then this.
Yeah.
So that's C with a 9 and a major 7. You can see how that's kind of reminiscent because it isn't straight C major. So straight C with major would be like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's there. It's all complete. There's nowhere to go. Right? What there is, there's
Right.
loads of places to go, but there's C major by itself seems to have this sense of satisfaction to it.
Yeah.
Whereas the C kind of major 7 with a 9, there's like this sense of questioning.
Yeah.
Your sense of maybe reflecting on something. This sense of everything isn't quite packaged into this nice form. It's like there's a sense of thinking about something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this idea of the lake, like it's kind of watery, isn't it? That kind of harmony.
Yeah.
Especially this.
And in the experience that I had, this person is seeing and experiencing nature, but also having this constant flow of emotions and thoughts about what's happened. And there's a little forward looking, there's a little being in the so there's an exchange of real life kind of. The sun plays through the leaves, and it's like, oh, there's some beauty in this, but also what's going to happen next. And remember that time when we were in that cafe in Paris, and it's just this whole internal experience is what I gathered from that. And it sounds like Brad was sort of in the same spot. I don't want to speak for Brad too much, but that reminiscence, yeah.
And then something. What else did it do? I can never really remember it. That's just the problem. So there's still kind of C major vibe. And it kind of went into A major, I think. So this is one of the problems I have is when I play a piece of music and then I try and demonstrate what I did. I find it very difficult because I can, not in memorization mode. I'm just
Well, and I purposely wasn't watching your hands because I didn't want any clues as to where you were in the keyboard, and I didn't want to anticipate anything. So I looked straight into the camera the whole time. So I can't even help you out. Like, oh, you were over here and like playing a B or something. Yeah. It's interesting though. So the whole improvisation thing, you're trying to remember what you played, and then do you have any? If you're really free and your fingers are just doing what it is, you don't even have a sense of what you're communicating necessarily. Is that fair?
Do I have a sense? Sometimes I don't have a sense of what I communicated, as in I can't remember it.
Right.
Often.
Right.
And so there's a different process of listening to it. If I listen to it back, then I can think, oh, that's what I did. But I can't recall it from memory a lot of the time, which is sort of part of the beauty of it. So that means it's like, that's unique. I'll never be able to play that exact thing again.
Sure. Yeah. When you play, you typically, do something like what you did. When I've seen you play, the few times that was, chords and keys played out, which is what a lot of things. But there's so many ways to play the piano. There's stride players. There's guys who are very percussive, and even if they're doing the same thing, the approach brings out a different sound. Do you explore with that at all? Like playing like the Killer, Jerry Lee Lewis. If you play like him, it's a different thing than what you're doing, like even if the techniques might be there and he's making it flashy, his heart is pumping, his body is moving, he is singing, and it's not better or anything, but it's a different approach to the instrument.
I mean, I like to incorporate different genres, different kind of feels, rhythms into it. There is a particular kind of genre that works well within improvised, just improvising to things and emotions and stuff. I mean, it's a lot easier to improvise in a way that's kind of free flowing, quite jazzy, than it is to something like this very strict time, like a kind of like ABBA style.
Yeah. When we were talking, I brought up one of my favorite things in music that I've ever discovered is that long note in Maneater from Hall & Oates. Did you happen to listen to that or no?
I did, yeah. I listened to the tune.
What did you think about that note? That's just, it's there, and it makes me want to scratch my neck just thinking about it now. It makes you uncomfortable.
So I think it's only in the chorus. I think it's a B. You've got that kind of, and so it starts off quite inoffensive, and there's, I think it goes to A minor, It's just like the 9 and
Uh-huh.
then it does something weird. It's like maybe it's maybe C. So the last note chord is quite uncomfortable.
Well, the note that I'm talking about is a single note that just
Yeah.
stays, and
Mm.
and it's just like boo the
On
entire time, and the song rides over the top of it.
on
Let
the
me see if I
string.
can find it here.
Yeah, I think it's important because it's emphasizing that sense of uncomfortableness, that sort of fear of that they're in the lyrics,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see if I can get this thing to play well enough, and I'll try to share this with the audience. Tell me a little bit about your ability to play out. Like, do you go out and play out with friends and entertain folks in bars, or what kind of public playing do you do?
Quite a bit. So I used to work on a cruise ship, and so that was just sort of party tunes.
Hmm.
And then now I'm just playing in various bands, like filling in as a keyboard player. I got a kind of function gig, they call it, on
Hmm.
coming up in the end of the month, and that's be just the usual fare, bits of Stevie Wonder, bits of kind of all
Yeah,
of those tunes that have been done to death, I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And then what else did I do? I played at a festival
Okay.
not long ago, and that was quite, I'd say, esoteric, kind of poetic,
Hmm.
um, hip hop sort of
Yeah,
rap stuff,
yeah.
but with a quite kind of ridiculous edge to it. It was,
Mm.
which
All
was
right,
good fun.
I'm gonna play a little bit of Maneater here. Let's see if I can figure out how to make this work right. So I'm hoping you guys will be able to hear this. Let me know, Luke, if you can hear this going. Can you hear that?
No.
Or is that no? Stays.
Yeah, I can't hear the video, unfortunately,
You
but
can't hear the video. Okay, well that's perfect. That's super helpful, everybody. All right, so you can't hear that, and I don't know how to make you hear it, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. But there's this note that just
yeah.
and it just sits there, and it just irritates, and it goes. So like there's a moment earlier in the song, like before the bridge or something. It shows up, and then it disappears, and it's like you get some relief from it. But then it comes. So everybody should go listen to Maneater when you get a moment, and you'll hear it. It's not way up in the front of the mix. It's just there, and I'm not doing the note right, but it's a little higher than that. But it just stays. It just stays and stays and stays. He doesn't ever lift his finger. So it's like he takes his phone and sets it down on the keyboard, and it just holds that note for, gosh, I don't know, 2 minutes straight. And it's such an interesting device. I've not found another song that has it. I'm sure there is one, but just that whole use of I'm trying to make you uncomfortable. When we had Andy Summers on the show, I asked him about that song "Mother,"
Hmm.
and it's a terrible song, but it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. And I asked him about that. I'm like, is this, like, what's the point? And he's like, I wanted people to feel the way people feel about their mother, and so you have this. It's not just the music, it's the design of the music and how does it make you angry and upset. And everybody gets upset at that song, so it's working. It's just, are you able to point it at that mother character in the song?
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Um, and so what was the question? Sorry.
Well, I just when I think about that, when you get out of the traditional box of playing, and we're not even talking jazz here, like how do I make this emotion happen? How do I create this? I like to call it affect. How do I create this response to stimuli? And so if you're trying to make something like Maneater, where there's danger on the streets because they got these women out there, they'll chew you up, boy. Uh, how do I, represent that? And there's no reason to go, why don't I just boop for 2 minutes straight? Like that to me is a moment of genius that comes into Daryl's playing. And how did he mechanically do that? Like how did he do all of the other playing, but also maintain this straight note for 2 minutes plus?
Well, it's in multi-track. It's on the top, but I mean, there's something about the tonality of that note as well. The way that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like a kind of sort of harsh string noise. It cuts through the
yeah,
mix. You
right.
know, um, I think it was quite effective.
Yeah. There's Brad's talking about out of the keynote can define a whole genre via the six, the five, the four, the three instead of 5 4. I'm reading Roman numerals live, everybody. 5 4 3. You've got a mariachi, right? I'm way out of my depth here. And so that's Brad saying that. But yeah, and I don't know, like if you mess around with the number system for, I'm sure you can for transcribing music. That's another thing is like trying to figure out how to read music and talk theory, and you've got all these different approaches to it because there's a lot of ways to think about the piano.
I mean, the number system is really useful because you can transcend the idea of keys. So that if you have, C, E, G, you're in one key.
Right.
Whereas if it's, so say as we were in C, C, E, G would be 1, 3, major third, 5. And that relates to every key. So you could do, 1, 3. And so you can take those Roman numerals and then you can apply them to.
Right.
You're not trapped in the key. You see.
Yeah.
It's a kind of part of the language.
When you think about hip hop and how they approach music, a lot of it is reconstituting another song into something, and you might stack those things vertically instead of longitudinally. So you just get this bass beat, and that is there. And then on top of that, you might put this Back to the Hotel. Do, 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 do. You have this like little lick on, I guess it's saxophone, right? And then you have that same little, it's very short, but it just goes vertical. And then you take that and stretch that out over time, and you have this depth there from a bunch of different things that didn't go together. It's like you're sewing a quilt, but the quilt doesn't have to make sense in terms of the appearance. It's just, how do you create this vibe with this other stuff? Very, I guess it could be improvisational, especially if you're improvising your lyric, but I don't know. What are your thoughts? How did I do?
I mean, so hip hop is a whole thing. I think there's obviously that thing of just stealing stuff, which is would now kind of illegal. But back in the sort of 90s, or when hip hop was beginning,
right,
that was just what you did. Find a beat from somewhere, from some old soul record, maybe speed it up. Found a bass line. Fascinating website called whosampled.com. Have you ever looked at that?
Yeah.
So,
looked that up on it.
There's some serious nerds out there, and they've found the origins of these samples, and some of them are fascinating. Like, I don't know if you know Fatboy Slim.
Sure. Yeah.
Their song "Praise You." Mm-hmm. So the actual piano was taken from it was like a educational demo LP that the JBs, which were James Brown's band, right?
Right. I think so. Yes.
They put out this educational LP, and there's one bit in it where the piano player plays these chords, which is the basis for the whole song.
Right.
That's like a couple of seconds, and he's talking about how the band is working together and how they're responding to each other and finding the pocket and such. Like, I just thought that was quite interesting, the way that whole song is on one tiny bit of an educational video. And I think another bit is from Steve Miller Band. I think that there's a song in the middle, in the middle section of that "Praise You" song, which is from the sort of Steve Miller Band song. And that's quite fascinating when you take up. I mean, it's quite a skill to combine all these different elements.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And as soon as you can see and hear what's happening, you can see and hear so much more. You realize there's a lot more going on. Like someone who's being not abiding the rules, and they're purposely doing that, and it works, and you understand, like, oh, he's breaking all the rules right now, or this lady is. I think a good example is, let me think about who it is. Oh, right. It's Oscar from the band War. He plays the harmonica, and he might play it. I play harmonica a little bit, right? And so I play it like a very simple version. I'll pick some notes. Maybe I'll do some chords. Maybe I'll just kind of play it kind of percussively, and just like do 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 we do 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 we, during a song or something. But he'll do harmonies with a horn and add richness with that horn, or he'll mimic the lyric as it's being sung and add richness there. And so he just took the instrument and took it in a totally different way, and is so it's so beautiful the way that he does that. So it's an amazing thing to start to see that world and understand like what this one person brings and appreciate that beauty that they deliver.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Stevie Wonder was doing that, but he had new ways of playing the harmonica, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and this idea that it can really replicate vocals, and you can kind of you have this back and forth thing going on with the singer. Yeah, it's a nice thing about playing the harmonica. So you can play the harmonica a bit.
a bit. I don't have one with me to show you, but yeah, I can play a little bit. I campfire grade. That's it. If I was going to play a gig publicly somewhere, which no one's going to ask me to, but if they did, I'd be like, "Whoo, I better chop up a little bit here and get some practice going." But yeah, a little bit. The the idea of playing something, improvising like on the harmonica, I don't know that I know how to do that. I don't know that I know how to just play notes and make it euphonious. I wouldn't. 'Cause I don't have the structure of theory behind what I'm doing. I just like this is a C harmonica. I'm just gonna honk on it and then that's it. Just
Yeah,
you know.
it's skill. The nice thing is that you don't have to worry about changing key. They're all in different keys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't have a fancy one with any kind of extra stuff on it. It's just 12 holes or whatever the hell it is, and I don't even know how many holes it is. I just play it. uh, but I do know like how to sit inside of I don't know if it's the pocket or not, but I know how to sit inside of a song and just not do too much, but bring the harmonica to the party, and it works. It works. I'm not perfect at it. I make a lot of mistakes, but who cares? I'm just playing around a fire with another guy playing the guitar.
I'm quite a fan of the blues harmonica. I think that's great. Real.
Yeah, yeah. When someone listens to improvised music, like if you like just do an improvisation set or a solo or something, do you expect folks to go on a journey with you? Like, what are you trying to accomplish if you're playing for an audience and you get a chance to improvise something?
Good question. I mean, some of the improvised gigs I've done, which are I'm just setting the vibe, so it's kind of akin to a jazz piano player in a hotel, say, where they'll play
Yeah,
a lot of the time. They'll play set pieces, standards,
right.
with the improvisatory element to it, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of doing something similar to that, but I'm making up more of the content, more of the structure of the songs and pieces, whatever. And the same kind of way as I do on the podcast is I'll sort of say, what kind of vibe do I want to create here? So is it a kind of
right.
relaxing, chilled vibe? I did a garden party not long ago, so it's kind of garden
Hmm.
party music. I can just play that, right? So
Yeah,
someone said play some garden party music. So I want people to just chill out, relax, not
yeah,
worry about the music too much. It's not going to be too engaging, but it's something like that.
right. Yeah, that's fun. And then like, let's say that you and I are going to be yeah, keep going. Let's say you and I are going to play a garden party and I'm sitting there, and I don't have my harmonica. I saw this great band. It's a different thing altogether, but same kind of idea. They played a bunch of songs, and there was a guy that sang, and he sang good enough to play a garden party, but he also played a mouth trumpet. And I mean, he would go, so he did that, and so it was almost like a form of scatting that he
Mhm.
did when he didn't have something to put in there verbally. He just used that mouth trumpet, and I always thought it was such a clever device because you can get away with a lot with that, and not hard to play the mouth trumpet. You just make the trumpet sound with your mouth.
Right, and it worked. It didn't sound naff.
No, it sounded great. It sounded great. It was clever. It
Mm.
was yeah, interesting.
Um, but yeah, what I mean, what I like to do is so if you have a particular vibe that you want to set,
Yeah, let's do a
maybe you
vibe
want to
thing.
set a vibe that's like it's expecting something.
Okay,
Perhaps you have an audience waiting for a show and you want them to feel like there's something exciting about to happen.
right.
Um, and then, so I can take a brief like that and I could play something like, I don't know, I can carry on forever like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's
that,
sweet.
yeah, so that's a vibe.
Yeah, yeah. You took a little as you did one of your walks up towards maybe towards C or something. You and you didn't have a misstep, but it was like a do 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 do. And just even that little note stood out to me as being something that was, it was non-linear in terms of how you walked up to the note you were getting to. And it
Mm.
was really neat just to have that little, I don't know, was it a flat note or something? I don't know, because I was trying to pay attention to what you were playing, not how you were playing it. And just that one little thing, but so much of it is so reminiscent, like you can feel the improvisation. And I'm trying to think, what is that like? And then you've moved on to the next idea, and I'm like, damn, I can't remember what it was. I was trying to remember what that was like anymore. So real neat. It's a fun game to play. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, there's an interesting relationship with mistakes when I'm doing that. So there are no mistakes because there's no
Right. Yeah.
content.
Yeah. And let me just be clear. I wasn't saying you made a mistake. You made this outcome was that you'd played this note that was just a little bit like it was like a step on a staircase
Mm.
that's not quite to code, and you're like, whoa, I jumped a little high in that step, or whoa, that step was a little, and it can be half an inch and you notice it, right? Or like when a house gently kind of declines and you're not supposed to be able to see that declination of the house going down a right, but you're like, hey, this house is a little crooked, and you're like, how can you tell? You're like, I can, and so human bodies are amazing in that we can detect these things. It's the slight difference in where that note should be, or this slight difference of the pitch of the floor. It's an
Mm.
amazing thing, and something you can play with.
Yeah, and that probably wasn't intentional. In fact, sometimes I'm like, I missed something. Oh shit, But then I have to sort of instead of I have to build that into the piece because it's there now.
Right.
Can't do anything
Yeah.
about it. So I might aim for, say, playing an octave on C, real kind of triumphant, solid
Yeah.
sound, but I might accidentally do that, and I'm like, oh dear. But then I have
Yeah.
to go through this process of kind of correcting it
Yeah.
or making it okay again. So if I
Mm.
say if I want a kind of triumphant music and I
Mhm.
hit that instead, I go. Might even repeat it. Might even go. Like build it in somehow. There's
Mhm.
always little
Mhm.
mistakes and little things that weren't supposed to be planned, but that's kind
Yeah.
of part of it.
Opportunities to have to do something. Yeah, interesting.
Mm.
One of the ideas that I still struggle with, as much as I know about music, and I'm a layman for sure, but the idea of pocket. And
Pocket. Yeah.
yeah, when someone, because my buddy John, who I started the show with, he always like, that guy's got a deep ass pocket. He never says that guy's got a shallow ass pocket. It's always a deep ass pocket. And I'm like, you say that about everybody. It's like, well, everybody plays, they've got to have a pocket, and it's always deep because everybody wants a deep pocket. And I'm like, well, what's a shallow pocket? And how do you get inside of the pocket? And how does a piano player or a keyboard player or whatever it is use the pocket to their advantage? And it's a never ending conversation where he continues to say the same things and I continue to not get it. But when I hear a deep pocket, I'm like, well, that guy's got a deep pocket. I know it, but I can't describe it. It's like disco, the difference between disco and funk, right?
Mhm.
I probably can describe that, but my way of describing it's going to be different than yours, but we'll both recognize what is disco and what is funk.
Mm. I mean, the real difference to me is particularly syncopation within the drums. On
Uh-huh.
funk, you've got quite the kind of traditional sort of James Brown stuff. Cat, cat. You've got this snare in a particular place, whereas a lot
Yeah.
of disco is a lot simpler, and it's got this four to the floor, boom, 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 cat, kind of the snare on
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
and 4, I think. 1, 2,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So there's a lot. It's a lot more smooth. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more of a smooth ride, and I think
Yeah.
it's I think it's not quite as engaging, but that's my like opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like when you hear early Van Halen and you hear the punk rock in it, and until you realize that it's there, it's hard to hear.
Mhm.
Same thing with like the Go-Go's, like, oh, that's just four on the floor, standard rock and roll, but it's chicks singing it, and then there's something in there. Is it the bass player? Who's moving this music just a little bit back or a little bit ahead, or Willie Nelson singing the damn words whenever the fuck he wants. He's not going to sing on top of the note. He's going to sing, I'm just going to sing back here. You get there. We'll be there. That's all right. And so there's all these different choices that we make. When I think about the difference between funk and disco, I think about strings or keys playing above the groove. So there's this train chugging down the track, right? This funky train sometimes. And above it, it's like, ding, 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 and then that's like that disco part is having that little bit of lightness up above. But sometimes you hear a song, you're like, that's both funk and disco,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of that crossover where I don't even know necessarily what thing I'm in, and then you realize it all just is four rock and roll. Like that's just what a lot of it is, just with this slightly different interpretation. So says Pete. I'm ready to be wrong about all that and have my mind changed.
Well, to me, rock and roll is quite distinctive in its kind of in its rhythm. I mean, particularly within the piano, you've got that kind of.
I can't hear that. I can't hear that.
You can't hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
You keep talking there. I can sort this out. But yeah, to me, rock and roll is quite distinctive in its.
Yeah. Why can't I hear that? Is that me or you? It could be me. I don't know what I've done different, but you know how these computers are.
Well, you can try again.
Now I can hear it. Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I don't. Yes. Yes.
To me, it's we've got a real drive to it. Real,
yeah.
It's almost like the train.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of blues and
yeah,
rock and roll music is this real. It's like
yeah.
you can see the wheels going around the track. Yeah, I mean, pocket is a subtle thing. It's felt most of the time. To try and kind of create, what's the word? If you think about it too much, it doesn't really serve you. Pocket is something that it's felt. It's a subtle thing that it's right, and it's when it's wrong. I think that's the only way you can describe it. I don't know if you've ever listened to a band and they're trying to play. You get that quite a lot in the UK, to be honest. They're trying to play a maybe it's a blues tune or a funk tune, and it's just not right. Like they're doing all the right things.
Yeah.
The drummer's playing the right kind of beat. The bass is playing the right kind of thing, but it's so subtle. It is just not working.
Yeah.
And you think, why? What? And it's this whole idea of listening. Is that when you're in the pocket, you're really listening to other musicians. It's like, the way I think of it is like a stew or a soup or some kind of type of food where you're enjoying the food. So you're eating and it tastes like a soup. It doesn't taste like a set of ingredients. It doesn't taste like the onions and the carrots and the broccoli and the spices. It tastes
and as you describe that, I can think about specific times when I've heard like that's just a bunch of vegetables in water. Like I appreciate the effort, but I saw a band and they were great. They played every note, and they played Freebird or one of those songs that has a great solo in it from Leonard Skinner. And I'm like, you played every note perfectly, and I didn't care, because the part that's the magic part, whatever it wasn't there. It's almost like they don't know the intention of the song, what the song is about, and so if you miss it and every note was right, it's just there's nothing in it, and so you're not getting the full communication stream proper, right? And so there's no soul in that, there's no hurt in that, or in the case of Freebird or whatever it is. But there's something you can't just play the notes, you have to. But I think about when I'm saying this, I'm thinking about Hot Fun in the Summertime by Sly Stone and the Family Stone, and everybody gets into that song on the lyric whenever they're ready, because it's too hot to be on time. And it's sexy, it's sensual, it's too hot, and you get all of that. And that's what's remarkable about that song is it doesn't abide a lot of the rules, but man, it sure feels like it does.
Mm. And there's that, when you get the pocket right, there's that real sense of purpose. So you might not be doing that much, but it feels like you're with the team. You
Yeah,
are consolidated into this thing.
yeah, yeah,
And whereas if you're just thinking about your own thing and playing the notes, and not considering your role in the music, then
yeah,
you're just some guy who's getting in the way of the game.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's an interesting thing, that it's a real intention thing, I think.
yeah. When
Um,
you are playing keys in a band with a drummer that's got a deep pocket, it's always the drummer that sets it, right? Like maybe the bass player has a deep pocket and it will guide that spot, and the drummer will work with them. But it's those two, right, that create the pocket.
hmm. And the keys play an interesting role because
Yeah,
they're often in the same space as the guitar. You're not at the bottom where the bass is. You're not right at the top a lot of the time playing the
yeah,
melodic content. So you're kind of in the middle, and so you're between the bass and the drums, and
right.
kind of with the guitar. That's why we have this kind of ongoing fight the keys players sometimes have with the guitar player, because we're just taking up the same space.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
to get that balance when you have a guitar player and a keys player to really like lock in,
Yeah.
it's such an art. I think.
Well, yeah, and like if you have a rhythm guitar player, you have a lead, and then you have a piano. That's a lot of that's crowded, right? And so I'm thinking about like a Bon Jovi, right? You have a great guitarist in Richie Sambora, and then Brian's over there playing the keys, and a lot of times what he's doing is just going, dit, 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 and just a very simple chord to create some kind of a dynamic in the song. And I'm not saying that's all he can do, but he finds his own spot in that song. And I don't know if that has anything to do with pocket or not, but he doesn't have to be virtuosic in how he plays because they already got a guy for that.
Sure. And I think one of the skill of being a musician is not playing too much.
Yeah,
You have these I've played with incredible musicians who they they can play so many notes, and they can play so many like really complex lines, and they can just sort of, but they can't play really simple stuff and just keep it in the groove,
yeah,
which is so
yeah,
important. And I think people they get bogged down in it, get bogged down in the show offness, and the
yeah.
music becomes about them.
I can't think of the channel dudes, and they play funk, and they are way too fucking busy. They're young and they're absolutely wonderful in their playing and their technique, but they're just so busy that you can't find space to feel the funk.
Mhm.
It's crowded and it's two dudes and holy shit. But goddamn, holy shit, slow down, leave some space, and let the music breathe a little bit. That's not what they want to do. It's their account, and they've done great things. I'm not being too critical here, but I don't listen to that channel partly because they're just jamming a bunch of food in my mouth as opposed to making a lovely stew.
Sure. I mean, there's some great drummers who do that, who underplay a little bit.
Yeah.
If you listen to Bill Withers, he's like the classic example. There's so
Oh
much
yeah.
space there, so simple, but it's just like
Yeah.
a real groove. What's the name of their drummer? Steve Gadd, maybe. He's like
Oh sure.
great,
Yeah.
that keeps the space.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And being able to keep the space without crowding the space, and
Mm.
yeah, letting that thing be.
And so when you interviewed Sly,
Yeah.
on the show, did you talk about this sort of thing? Did you talk about pocket and groove?
Now his his brain was scrambled at this point. I don't know if he ever really got much of his brain back because there were moments. I don't want to make it sound like he was completely incompetent and everything else, but he was still fully in his crack using days. This is 10
Oh,
years
wow.
ago or so.
Okay.
But he would slow down sometimes and say the most profound things. And it was more mindset than it was technique and everything else. And he recorded all kinds of music. So I don't know how much of it is usable and will be released in the future. But he would say the most beautiful things, but it was all about just kind of surviving the music industry. We had Angelo Moore from Fishbone on the show too, and he said a similar thing. He's like, you and your friends are all sitting on this bench, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, and you're going to go on this ride, and then you realize what you're doing is sitting on the edge of a blender, and everybody's got to jump in,
Oh shit.
and you're like, Jesus Christ. He's like, yeah, and everybody gets cut, and so how do you survive that? And how do you go from being this high energy Fishbone's fucking awesome. But lugging around a bass sax your entire life and jumping around like a madman, like that just takes a toll on your body. And so how do you evolve, and all those questions, all those things you think about? Yeah, that's kind of what Sly kind of talked about. Same thing with Angelo. And these are complex dudes that aren't the best friends to have around. They aren't the best house guests,
Right.
because they've lived a non-traditional life. And so when you're looking for them to do something traditional, they're not going to do it. They're just not, and that's not how they're made. And thank God for that. We need folks that make the artist choice for the sake of being an artist. And so they make you uncomfortable with how they are in real life. But man, what they make on stage is earth moving.
Yeah. And so they make you uncomfortable. So you felt a bit uncomfortable talking to him, sort of thing, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I like with Sly especially, I wonder, like, was he maybe even autistic in some way? He struggles with crowd. He cannot trust it. He's passed now, but he could not really trust anybody new in his life because everybody wanted something from him. When we saw him, he was in the middle of his fight for his music, and he had just won the court case that would ultimately he would lose, and he would win it again. So he was in the middle of this tug of war, and he was so angry, and he's like, "I'm the one that made the damn music, and I'm over here fighting with these guys." And he was talking about all this stuff, and then we realized he was talking about his own lawyers, and he was talking about how he's fighting with them, and he's like, "I made this damn music." I knew he was really upset, and and partly because he's got this addiction problem. Then he starts flying, towards like becoming manic and everything. So it was real hard to know like what to do, and you couldn't grab a hold of him because then he would run away. And he's like, all right, we ran out of time. I owe you some more time. Come back and get it tomorrow. We came back the next day. We stood on his porch for 4 hours and I never got another minute with him. And so, and it wasn't like we were assholes. It just, he is a very challenging person to deal with. And, the fact that he made us wait on the porch for 4 hours and nothing ever came of it, yeah, join the group. There's a lot of people that have experienced that part of Sly's world. And it's not being critical, but that's the thing with these guys who have been through all this stuff. It damages them. And I think with Sly, especially, his gift of this constant stream of music flowing through his head is also going to drive you insane unless you can find a way to manage it and deal with that expression, because I don't think he ever mastered that, if it was masterable.
Wow. Yeah, so he's just constantly coming up with ideas and melodies and riffs and stuff, right?
Yeah. And he has to get them out. He has to do something with them. And so he's got these keyboards and he's playing, and it's not incessantly. He does other things. I'm not trying to, I'm trying to explain something that's very hard to explain with a person who you adore and love, but you can't adore and love that person because they're not attainable. And so it's a weird dynamic when you deal with, and I'm talking about Sly specifically right now, and I've got not a bad thing to say about the man. I just it's all admiration and wonder. But when you experience it in real life, it's very challenging to deal with someone who struggles to deal with life in a way that makes any sense. And I can understand why he becomes an addict, because he probably was one from early on, and didn't have the ability to really figure that out in a reliable and repeatable way. I mean, thank goodness towards the end he kind of got himself squared away, but there had been so much abuse, you don't get to keep everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. A little heavy. Sorry, everybody. But that muse in him, right? Like all modern music, it flows through him. The thing that we started saying was the people who stole from 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 the people are the ones who stole from the Sly Stone. And so it's like you're washing through all of these sluices of music genius. And it's like, oh, yeah, Sly did that a long time ago. And Sly got it from other people too, of course. But that's how indelible and essential he is to modern music. And so how do you revere that, but also say, Christ, man, that guy, he struggled to do life on a reliable way where you could book him for a gig and he would show up and deliver. Of course, for a while he could, and sometimes he could, but for the most part, that wasn't who he was. And yeah, so there's a lot of money left on the table, I think, when it comes to Sly and what he
Hmm.
might have done.
And it goes back to this question, this balance of being a good musician and having passion and, uh, this sort of fire and this ability to express yourself, but also not letting it destroy you. you know,
Yeah,
like it is a balance.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. It is. It's crazy, and it's having talked to a lot of musicians. There's a lot of ways to go after that life, and a lot of times it's unenviable when you see what they do. Um, you go backstage. I don't want to bug those guys. Like, hey, thanks for the backstage access. No, I don't want to see so and so. It's fine. They're like, no, they're here. They want to see you. I'm like, not really. They'll come and they'll be pleasant, but I don't need to meet so and so from such and such. It's great. Thanks for the access. I'm not going to go back there. Like if I got a friend or someone, I'll go back there because I'm seeing a friend. I don't need to see the person who's about to go to work, because then I become something to them. I'm not me anymore. I'm just a fan who's been given access for a meet and greet. And
Sure.
look, nothing wrong with going back and doing that and meeting your heroes. Nothing wrong with all that. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but I would rather go kick it with you before the show and not talk about that. Or even better, when you guys get together in a trailer and you're just jamming, I'll be like, oh man, no, I didn't bring an instrument, but I know there's one here. And then try to keep up. Oh my God, that I would love to do, right? But that's not me being a fan. That's me being part of that music groove.
Sure. And I think that relationship between fan and musician and star can be quite lonely. Not like I've ever experienced it, but what I've seen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
other people.
lonely for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're going, because it doesn't seem like it from the outside because you just see the product. But my buddy Scott, he rest his soul, but he used to work with the Eagles and he grew up with Green Day. They came out from the area we were from. They were all part of that Gilman scene in Berkeley, and he was a backstage guy, and he had his own musical chops, but that's where life led him was to be backstage, and his job was to make sure that Joe Walsh's pants. His Tuesday night pants were ready on Tuesday night, and that he had that red couch, so that when Joe and so when we hear about it, it's like, oh, so and so is a diva and everything. Like, no, Joe's living on the road. Here's all he needs is like these kind of comforts, so that when he's not working, he can relax and be as ready as possible. And then when the time comes, because people spend a lot of money to see Joe Walsh and the Eagles, that he is 100% ready to deliver for that audience. And anything that gets in the way of that, they don't want around, and so they don't play 8 nights in a row or whatever it's going to be. They have all these rules, and that's how that machine works because it is a product, and it's a machine that produces this product. And to run that, you have to have all this activity behind you. And Scott would say, I walked 14 miles today, but never left the building, that kind of thing. You're like, Jesus Christ, because there's just all this flurry of activity. And we just see Joe Wall singing Rocky Mountain High during his part of the Eagle set.
Yeah. And so did he really have a particular color couch that what do they had to move around and stuff like that?
That was the example he used, was to say, like, and he didn't say Joe Wall specifically, but, it's like we needed to have a red couch. And I know where to get a red couch in every city that we go to because that's my job. So that they ask for it, they get it, and they're no longer worried about it. It's like and the way we talked about it back then was, if you're trying to go to work and you can't find your fucking keys, like it fucks you up. Well, they can't afford that. They need to like know where, and it's not about keys. It's whatever it is. Like now is like a baseball player, like Clayton Kershaw. His day is planned to the minute, and if you screw up his minutes, you screw up his whole prep cycle, and it's game changing, right? And so he doesn't allow that. He's absolute, resolute, and does not change. Now, other musicians, who cares, right? They're like, yeah, I pop a couple of beers at this time or whatever. But at some point, they lock into show mode, and then that thing needs to be that thing. What you've been around for, a long time.
Hmm. And I mean, some of them take the piss completely when they get that sort of power and they can just demand with it.
Yeah.
I recently
Yeah.
saw, was it Motorhead's Rider? Someone had shared that somewhere, and it was just hilarious. Like all of the different types of alcohol and particular kinds of snacks, and be like,
Yes.
well, I need my 12 pints of milk and my
Yeah. Yeah.
Pringles from this
Yeah.
particular flavor.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, so we had there's a very famous drummer, but he's a session guy, right? So he'll go out when Pink goes out, and his name is Mark. And so he plays for world-class acts. And he's like, when you hire me, you're going to pay me a lot of money, of course, because I'm a professional and that's how this works. But you don't pay me whatever it is, $1 million for the year, whatever that number is going to be. You don't pay me that money to drum. You pay me to be the band dad, to make sure everything goes okay. You pay me to be away from my family. That's what you pay me for, is you pay me for all the things that are work related. I love playing drums. That's easy. That doesn't cost $1 million a year. That's nothing. It's being gone for my kids. It's having to take care of all the crazy insanity here and be the band dad and keep everybody calm. That's why you hire me. And you don't think about that when you're a fan. You think about, there's Pink. You don't even think about the drum. You don't think about Mark. You ignore Mark. More Pink, and you're singing along. But all these things, this circus that has to travel, right? Yeah, it's crazy. I'm doing all the talking now. Sorry about that, man. You should be doing more talking.
That's all right. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you've never been on the road. So you've been in bands, right? But you've never got to that kind of stage where you were touring.
Yeah, I've never really been in a real band, just goofing around. But I've been around a lot of band people and experienced, what it means to be them. John, who I started the show with, we went over to this guy. So his name's Dwayne Wiggins. He's passed on. He was one of the Tonys from Tony, great man. And he had this studio, and he was using it it's in Oakland, and he was using it as a place for other bands to come and practice and rehearse. And that could be anything, because when you're in a city like Oakland, and at the time they had the Warriors and they had the A's, there's a lot of big events where you might get hired to sing the national anthem or sing some song at whatever. And so there was all this professional activity going on around town. Like if you're getting your band ready to go on the road, you go to Dwayne's place and you'd hire some studio time and just work on wood shopping and getting yourself ready, and because we were around that, we could see a lot of that activity and understand what it means to really be a professional musician and the resources that you need when you're not on stage, and also see the tour boxes that are everywhere, like all that stuff. There's just so much stuff. They own so much clothes, that you're like, God damn, how many boxes of clothes do they? But they have to have all that stuff because they're in show business, and that's part of the show.
And also vast distances between each gig as well. I mean, Russian America, doing Vegas one time and then going all the way up to, I don't know, New York or whatever. It's like,
yeah. And if you make money by being on the road, that means you don't get to be home very much, which impacts your life. Let's do one more improvisational thing. What do you want to do? And then we'll wrap this thing up.
All right. So how about you give me a theme of some kind?
Okay, let's see if anybody wants to kick a theme in here. Everybody got a couple seconds there to kick in the theme. Otherwise, I'm just going to pull the trigger. Give me some romance. It's Monday. Monday's a good day for romance.
Romance. So that's just sort of, nice kind of, there's no jealousy, there's no lust. It's just good old school romance, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. What do you think of that?
I like it. Yeah, it was great.
Waltzy.
Yeah.
And to got a couple dance on the dance floor. It's all quite old
Yeah.
fashioned. It's all quite laid back, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a maybe there's a
Uh-huh.
little well, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's great. You had me. I love a good date. I like to take my special someone out on a date night, and you try to dress up a little more. Even though we're middle aged, you can, you can. Well, look, this is a secret for everybody. If you go to the symphony, you can wear a suit, and if you have a suit, she has to wear a dress. You know what she wants to do? She wants to get pretty and wear a dress and feel great and go out with her dude. And these little things this adds the romance in. And so, yeah, when you hold hands and you walk down the stairway into the symphony hall or whatever it is, that's the kind of vibe that you played. I was thinking about this place we go to quite often for dinners, and it's just, yeah, we are entering into this moment of romance, and there's no phones, there's just each other. Even though we're in a crowded room, there's that romance element. So thanks, man, you nailed it.
It's a good way to close a show, isn't it? Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
romance.
yeah, yeah. Everybody check out ImproPod. There's the link right down below my face. This face. There's a link right down there, and you'll see all of Luke's stuff. It's great. Like there's a whole bunch of conversations there, and it's the same kind of vibe where he's guiding it and plays along. It was fantastic, man. I really enjoyed the experience. Enjoyed you being on the show. What else do you want to say before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. This it's been very interesting listening to you. Yeah, so ImproPod was improvised music to stories, emotions, and ideas, basically. So it's just me and a guest and piano. Yeah, and we've had all the way from some interesting guests on there. All this
Yeah.
way from you, and then this guy who spent 16 years in prison to. I've had Egyptologists on there.
Great.
I've had magicians, yeah, all sorts.
Yeah. It's magicians are musicians, really. Like the way they do things. They're playing an instrument. That instrument usually is the audience, but it's amazing. It's a great parallel there. All right, everybody. Well, so go check out Luke's work. Go to ImproPod. It's on YouTube. You can find it at Podbean. All the pod places you'll find it, and go support what he does. I got a thrill out of this. I'll come back to say goodbye to you in a second, Luke. Everybody else, I think actually I got a show in about an hour and a half, so I'll see you all then. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.